Hello, my loves. Hello. Welcome to July 2022's Energy Update. This is going to be a very important update that we're going to be discussing. Those of you who are in my YouTube membership, you've already gotten a preview of this. But as you're hopping on, say hello, hashtag it replay. If you're catching the replay, let me know where you're watching from. That way I can give you some love. If you're watching on TikTok, know that this is also being broadcast on YouTube. So you can always go back and watch it there. Good morning, Salime. Or good afternoon. I don't even know. It's some type of time. Oh my goodness. Okay. For those of you who are brand new to me, who have just finding me for the first time, I'm Johanna Burkhardt. I am a multidimensional channel teacher and healer and author, and I'm here to help you come into balance with your mind, body, and spirit through integration, helping you move from anxiety, overwhelm, stress, fear, inner conflict into harmony with your soul's journey. And I'm so happy that you are here. I want to, before we get too far into this, I want to just make some mentions. I do this from time to time during energy updates. If there's something that I say that does not resonate with you, just let it go. Keep what resonates, let the rest just be. It doesn't mean that I'm wrong or you're wrong. It just means that information is not where you are. It's not meeting you where you are at this time in your journey. And that's okay. So it's not a big deal. And none of this is ever meant to be fear-based, okay? So this is a perspective that I'm bringing through from the 10th dimensional Andromedans and other beings that will collectively join into that conversation, okay? And I have been getting this information over the last about, 4 to 5 days. And so we finally reached a point to where I feel like I can bring it through pretty clearly. And so we're gonna jump in because this is an important update, and I'm gonna kind of do a quick overview of where we've been. I want to try to make this bring this information into a linear flow, which isn't always easy to do because time is really just a marker for experience, the same as astrology. So I'm not an astrologer, but I do read energy and communicate with all things, right? And planets are sentient beings just as we are. So like I said, time and astrology are one and the same in the fact that they are markers for experience. So when you are listening to astrologer, you can kind of keep that in the back of your mind. It will help you just understand that it's just a time for something to be experienced. So July 2022. Oh, and if this resonates, if you feel like this will be a value of someone else, please hit the little heart button and give it a share. That really helps to support my message and help me reach more people. Hi, Natasha. Okay. Whew. July 22 is a karmic purification of repression through rebellion. And it is what it sounds like, and it isn't what it sounds like. So we're going to talk about both of these things. July is generally a month of purification anyway. It is on the Western zodiac. It is Cancer season. Cancer is the birth of the zodiac, but for anything to be start anew, something has to die, right? So July is generally a month of rebirth, of purification. But if we go back and just kind of put this into a linear timeline to kind of help you guys see that even though it doesn't feel like it or look like it, we are progressing. Okay. And this is why I want to kind of put this into a linear perspective. May was the point of no return. That meant that we were entering into a frequency, a new state of being, a new energy collectively, whether people recognize it or not, that isn't going to revert back, right? So a lot of times people talk about the Schumann resonance and, they see the spikes and they consider it a one-time thing. But that's not always the case, right? It's just a measure of Gaia's heartbeat. And it does show when we have an influx of photonic light and when we have major purging happening internally and into Gaia. So it is just a tool that measures things, right? But it isn't something, often people think that the energy goes back down. And that's not necessarily the case. So in May, we had that point of no return where we were moving into a new energy and there was really no going back, right? That level of awareness, that veil, collective veil has been gone. There's no going back. Hi, Sonia. So June, we talked about June being a month of divine relaxation, a month of rest. And as I described in June's update, divine relaxation does not necessarily mean that you're laying around on the couch doing nothing, Netflix and chilling. That's not really what it means. Divine relaxation means that whatever it is that you are doing, you are in a deep physical relaxed state. You're not running on adrenaline. You're not running on anxiety, worry, overwhelm. You're not doing things that are out of alignment for you. You are allowing yourself to move through the month in a state of divine relaxation, meaning the things that you are doing are things that you love. It still means you could be working hard and working 15-hour days if you want, but it won't drain you because what you're doing is from a deep relaxed state. It's not from an activated nervous system. So there was a big reason why June needed to be that way. And for those of you who found yourself in a high anxiety state through June and were unable to regulate your nervous system, and get to that space of divine relaxation, which this is not easy to do sometimes, especially if you're new to this work, or, you're not good at practicing your tools, or you maybe don't have the right tools, or whatever the case may be, right? Had some things going on in your life and it just kind of got away from you. It is a daily practice, right? We have to do this work daily in our everyday life. This is what the real work is. So those of you who weren't the best at that in June, you may have a little bit harder time in July. But your experience of what we are already moving into is up to you, how you respond or react to anything. So I want to preface that when I speak of intensity, when I speak of these things, your experience, each person's experience is going to be different. It's going to be different based upon the way that you, your energetic and physical boundaries, the way that you know how to communicate and read your body, the way that you respond or react to anything. And how you choose to operate as a being. These are all things that are in our power, the only things that are in our power. So as we move into July, this energy has actually already began. We had a little preview of it last weekend, but we already began this energy. So even though it's not quite July as I record this, actually today is the new moon in Cancer, it's already began. So it's, like I said, it's the karmic purification of repression through rebellion. So let's talk about some of those things, right? So repression is the deepest collective wound of humanity. Repression is the karmic storage within our DNA. So the way that the Andromedans speak of karma is an opportunity for us to come back through other new relationships, new lifetimes, and see something or many things from a different perspective for the purposes of coming into understanding, so that that experience can be integrated. It's not something that stays fragmented. So when we leave our human suit and we return to our etheric form, we release our karma into a karmic pool, a collective karmic pool. And when we choose to come back into this life, into the human form and incarnate, we take a scoop of that karma that we choose to have a new perspective on. And sometimes that karma is from other lives that we have lived, other relationships that we've had. And sometimes it is collective karma, things that we want to assist the collective with. Okay. So it's not always about your lifetimes. Okay. So I want to start with that. Now, yes, you can, and we do accumulate karma in this human journey. But again, it doesn't mean that we are forced to come back in another life and work through it. It is a choice that we make as a soul. Okay. There is no law that says we have to come back and do that. That's why it's distributed into the karmic pool. That's why we see things played out collectively on repeat, right? Dressed a little bit differently. This is why we have patterns and programs that we run as human beings, where the same type of energy happens on repeat, dressed a little differently. For me, it shows up a lot in my relationships, right? Calling in the same partner who looks a little bit different, but has the same qualities because I hadn't integrated the wounding, right? Or I hadn't had understanding about the lesson. So when you see yourself repeating cycles and patterns, it's because you need to see it over and over again at different angles so that you can have that understanding. Through understanding, we experience compassion. Through compassion, we have divine acceptance, which is the point of integration. And so this is all kind of important context for you to understand about what we are currently entering into. And that storage of the DNA, that the karma is stored in our DNA, and it's deep in our physical body, in every cell of our physical body. And so when that happens, we understand that when you think about repression or resistance, it's a tension in the body. It is a physical tension. Something that's really popular on TikTok right now, if you are in the same healing TikTok videos that I work in and see, is a lot of people talking about something that I went through over the last few years, which is when you leave a trauma, when you finally let go of a trauma, or you leave a toxic relationship, oftentimes our body goes through a period where we really can't move. Like our body hurts, it's tired, it's exhausted. There is a lactic acid that releases from our bones. And what that is us releasing the tension or the resistance, which is us repressing that energy, right? So when you're running on a activated nervous system, you are repressing or resisting or not wanting to feel what is happening. You are pushing it down. So if we're going through this on a collective, we're going to see this as external rebellion, but it's also going to be an internal rebellion that's going to be happening. So as we went through June, we had to be in that divine relaxation state, because divine will or divine relaxation is the only way to actually heal the wound of repression. It means we have to let go of the resistance. We have to let go of the fight. We have to let go of the fear and allow ourselves to feel and be with and process what is happening. Right? Again, so let's go over this, why we have seen things over the centuries repeated. Because every single time there is one of these events, humanity represses it. They don't want to feel it. They want to fight against it. They want to enter into the resistance. So we have to once again play that out and call in a new experience and try this again. But if instead we could allow ourselves to completely feel what is happening, we wouldn't necessarily need to repeat it over and over again. Because as Louise Hay has coined, right? You got to feel it to heal it. You have to allow yourself to feel it. You have to leave the resistance. So part of this process that we're going to be going through, this karmic purification of repression, is going to be felt physically, mentally, and emotionally. This is the first one I've seen this way. The way that I see it is literally all aspects. So we are going to see mental health in a way that we've never seen mental health happen in the world. We are going to see a rise in disease. We're going to see a rise in people getting sick. We're going to see a rise in people having physical issues manifest in their body. Why? Because when anybody who's not releasing that resistance, releasing that repression and all that karma that's stored, allowing that to come up, to be felt, to seen, heard, loved, accepted into their being. When we don't allow that, our body enters into a very acidic state. And all dis-ease is based in acidity. It's based in acidity. So we have to understand that when we see this happening, remember this and recognize that there are people who are in resistance, who are not wanting to feel or experience things. It's oftentimes when we see people who have cancer, right? When the disease returns, they went through chemo, they went through all the things, and then it comes back. Why? Because they didn't actually heal the root of it. They didn't get to the emotional dis-ease that was causing the acidity in the first place. So we can medicate it, we can band-aid it, but it will always return if we don't address the underlying issue, what I call the energy in your basement, that unconscious, subconscious energies. So we're going to see and feel these things. Now, you can also be somebody who has ascension symptoms, right? Some of us sensitives experience more ascension symptoms than others. And so you may have cold and flu symptoms, and that's just you purging. That is a physical manifestation of something leaving your body. And so if those things happen, if you find yourself a little more tired than normal or having, cold or flu symptoms, just remind yourself that something is physically purging your body. And that will help you to accept and be okay with what is happening. Okay. It will kind of take a little bit of the pressure off. It's not necessary for you to medicate it. I mean, you guys can do whatever it is that you feel. But the best thing that you can do is just allow yourself to feel it and go through it, because it is through that resistance that actually makes it more intense. It makes it longer, draws it out, all of those things. Like I mentioned, we will see an increase in mental health issues. And we will probably start to see mental health issues that we've never seen before. Because again, when people enter into this type of resistance, it can create massive fragmentation. Not only that, but let's talk about the flip side of this, right? With a collective veil has been gone for quite some time. But what's starting to happen is the individual veils, which is our belief systems, are starting to be cracked wide open. Through all the things that are happening in the world, it's starting to crack our old belief systems wide open. And that's what a veil is. It's just a belief system. So as that happens and people start to have more spontaneous awakenings or more expanded awareness of self, if they don't know what's happening, if they don't have a good support system, they can go into a mental fragmentation. Right. And sometimes we see this with people that have spontaneous Kundalini awakenings, and people don't know what's happening to them. Right. They all of a sudden think that they're crazy. So these are all things just to keep in mind, just points of awareness to be able to access if something crosses your path and you're like, I wonder what this is. You can remember these words. They can be seated in your consciousness so that you can access them and have some patience and understanding. Emotionally, we will be purging as well. We're going to see this most in the mirror of our relationships. So whether it's a close friend, a parent, your child, people that you work with every day, whatever it is, the home, the relationships, your work or business environment is where we're going to see that mirroring of emotions the most. So things are going to be triggered in you to feel that you have been repressing. So that is the inner rebellion. That inner rebellion is you finally getting out of your own way, you finally getting sick of your own shit and saying, I'm tired of being triggered by this. This person keeps bringing up my not enough wound, or this person keeps bringing up my unworthy wound, or whatever the case may be. This person keeps making me angry. This person keeps violating my boundaries. I'm tired of people pleasing, whatever it is, right? Everybody's going to be a little bit different. But through the mirror of our relationships, our home, our places of employment, we are going to see that emotional energy being triggered and activated to be purged. So once again, this is very important time, but it can be intense. And the reason why it can be intense is because it's like we're getting hit from all sides. But again, we spent June, right? So May, we had these huge, huge frequency increases. And in June, we had some too. And when I mean frequency increases, again, we're not referring to the Schumann spiking up temporarily and coming back down. We're talking about a sustained new amount of photonic light that is entering into the planet. And that allows for us individually to process that photonic light. Photonic light is information. So we are now processing more information per hour than we ever have before. And when I say ever have before, I mean it would blow your mind if we could measure this scientifically in a way to put an accurate number on it. So let's just say in 2020, when we started, we were processing 10 hours of information per hour. Today, it's more like 2,000. That is the expandedness that we have gone through over May and June, right? This has been a buildup, but May and June, we had the highest increases in sustained photonic light coming in, right? Amount of information we process per hour. So in June, another reason why we had to enter into that divine relaxation was to open up for allowance, to allow this energy to settle. So I think the way that I described it in my membership was the best metaphor that they could give me, that the guides gave me, is think about a cloud deck. When a cloud deck comes down, we think of it as fog, right? It's thick, it's dense, but eventually it begins to dissipate and spread out. And that's what's happening with these frequencies. So these new sustained frequencies level come in, and in the beginning it's thick, right? So energy is intense. We feel it intensely. And now as we went through June, it began to dissipate. It began to spread out, expand our awareness. It began to really be able to settle into our being. And as it does, what does photonic light do, right? We have this aspect. This is what ascension is. Light coming in, bringing up the density to be crystallized, right? Ascension is the process of our bodies going from carbon density to crystalline. So taking something that's huge and making it a speck of wisdom that remains. So we release the story, we release the programming, and the only thing that remains is the wisdom, and that is what crystallizes in our being. So as we went through this sustained increase, right, this energy has now come down. And as it's settled into our bodies, for those of us that have allowed it, chose it, signed up for it, it's going to be bringing up, or is at this moment, this is the beginning of it, bringing up or shining the light like a flashlight on that density within you that was always there. You just didn't see it before. And something that I often say is it's like a dimmer switch. You clean your whole house, you move the dimmer switch up a little bit. Now all of a sudden you're seeing a new layer of dirt that was always there. You just couldn't see it before. So you clean that, right? And then you turn that dimmer switch up a little brighter. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, there's still more dirt. I didn't see that before. You clean that up and then you put it up even higher. And you're like, oh my God, there's another layer. So we've been going through these layers. Some of you, you have a lot more layers to go. For some of you, you're hitting your root systems. Everybody's going to be experiencing this a little bit different at different levels. So this deep physical karma that is in every cell of your being, whether it's from your lifetimes, your ancestral line, part of helping the collective, something you've taken on to help clear the collective, it's going to be coming up. It's going to be coming up. You're going to be seeing that mirror in your relationships. Your mind might go a little bit bonkers. There might be a lot of activity in your mind. Again, what you focus on is what's been repressed, because your small self, which makes up your ego and your inner children, those fragmented aspects of self are like locked in the basement, and they're screaming through the mental obsession of the mind to get your attention so that you will see, hear, feel what you have locked away, what you have repressed. And this is why we're beginning the massive integration process. It's so important. So if you don't know how to do the work, if you don't have a support system, if you don't know how to integrate fragments of self, now is a good time to find a teacher that does it. You can always work with me. I have a program that's in enrollment right now. There's other teachers out here that do similar things. So find who resonates with you. Get whatever resource you can and you're capable of, and do the work. Patience is going to be virtue through the month of July. Eating healthy and clean, whatever that means for you, right? Pure, clean, whole foods is going to be super important. You don't want to weigh your system down with processed oils and foods that the body has a hard time breaking down. It's going to need all of its energy for this. So when we eat yucky foods or heavy foods or processed foods, it takes extra energy for the body to rid it because there's no use for it in the body. So that takes away from our own energy levels. So taking extra good care of your physical body, really being present with your mind, being in the observer, not being an absorber, not believing your mind, but also not ignoring and repressing your mind, allowing yourself to feel what's coming up and exploring the sensations, communicating with your body, communicating with what's happening inside of you, and really understanding what it's trying to tell you. Right? So if you go through the July and your relationships are crazy and your things in your home are breaking and all of these things are happening, it's because you're not listening to what's happening in here. And so it has to be mirrored back to you. It's got to get your attention. So practice the pause, really practice the pause. Think before you speak, allow time for your nervous system to regulate before reacting. That way you can respond. Right? So learn the tools when you feel the fear, when you feel the anxiety. Recognize anxiety is just an abundance of energy that you are making about you. You're taking it personal. So it's all this energy trying to attack you or being pointed at you because you're taking it personal, and you're deciding not to feel what really needs to be felt. So it can make you overly nervous, anxious, all of those things, right? And all of that is rooted in fear of feeling. We're not really afraid of anything. We're afraid of feeling everything. So these are very important things that you can do. You want to keep yourself super hydrated. So the best way to hydrate yourself is through minerals. Drinking a lot of extra lemon water. Lemon opens up. You can even do limes too. Opens up your cells to be cleansed. Water is a conductor, so it moves energy through you. But again, because of the amount of photonic light, our awareness is also expanded. So that can make you sometimes often a little extra dreamy, a little extra hopeful. You might jump too soon on something. So you really want to, I'm a little ungrounded. So you really want to stay grounded, which is being present in your body, present in the moment. So whatever allows you to be present and create that peace and stillness inside of you, whether it's nature, yoga, just sitting with yourself in silence, whatever works for you, utilize those tools to help you stay connected and present inside of you. As I mentioned, July is always a purification month anyway, and that's because we have the Galactic New Year in July, one of my favorite times of year. So starting on July 21st, we begin a 5-day purification cycle. And on July 26th, we have the Galactic New Year. It's really a cosmic new year. It's a start of us entering into a new frequency. Think of it as the birthing, right? The birthing process. And so we will enter into a new theme for a new galactic year. And this theme is, I wrote them down: activation, service, uniting, bonding, community, coming together, higher awareness, connection to our divine authority, new levels of thriving. So this is the new cosmic frequencies that we are entering into. And so as you can see, if we put it in a linear perspective, we are actually making progress. We are actually moving forward. It's very important that we understand that while we will have this internal rebellion, right, where we are sick of our own shit, we're sick of these programs, we're sick of these stories playing out, and we're ready to address them, face ourselves, because that's really what you're doing when you're healing, is you're facing your shadow aspects, you're facing yourselves. You're facing the things that you haven't wanted to feel and deal with. We will also see that externally in the collective being played out. And we've already started to see that. So when we see this karmic purification of repression through rebellion, we will see an increase in violence. We will see an increase of people being irritable, angry, a-holes, unhappy, agitation. We're going to see that because there is still a large piece of our collective that is unwilling to feel and take this journey. And so that will be played out. And while it sucks and nobody wants that and doesn't make it okay, it is something that needs to take place, because until we can get the majority of the collective at a place where they are willing to release the resistance and see that this is happening for us to just feel and integrate and accept the lesson that we're learning here, right? What have we learned each time? I just wrote a post about this because, with the Roe v. Wade overturning, it's the same story that was being played out, everything else that's happened. We enter into a state of people fighting. Divided we fall, united we stand. We don't have to have the same belief systems. But when we're willing to stop entering into the resistance and stop fighting with ourselves and each other, we can enter into a state of compassion where we're willing to hear another person's perspective, to have understanding about them. It isn't about you. It's not saying your belief is wrong. It's not saying that they're right. That's usually why people fight with it. I know that's why I've always fought with it, because that's one of my wounds. What it does say is it helps you understand where they are in their circle of evolution. Truth is just perspective. So this is the one truth. And your perspective may be top down. Someone else's perspective may be bottom up. Someone else's perspective may be coming from the right or the left. It may be whatever, 10 and 2. We don't know where someone else is on their evolution. And it doesn't mean that you're more ahead or they're more ahead. It just means we're in different spaces of our journey. We're looking at it from a different lens of perception. Sometimes that lens of perception is colored by our own wounds and what's coming up from our basement, what's leaking out into our energy field. As Tesla says, 369, your state of being, aka your frequency, that energy that flows in your unconscious, creates energy. It's the fuel for your energy that gets the emotions turning. That emotion then gets things moving, creating a broadcast, which equals the 9, which is the signal that you emanate, aka your vibration is what you emanate. You're emanating a frequency. So if you run into somebody, and why I always say you don't need to protect yourself against anything, it's because you're going to come up against people that you resonate with. And sometimes maybe it's not that their anger is showing you your anger. It may be it's showing you what you're allowing into your life. So everything needs to be looked at and communicated back internally. What does this mean to me? What is this trying to show me? And learning to build that communication, that bridge of trust with the aspects inside of yourself. It has never been more important to learn how to integrate aspects. We cannot move forward heavily fragmented as a collective. So you will see this played out in the collective. You will see more events, more craziness. The good thing that I have been seeing is very quickly after we have new distractions being played out, whether it's celebrity court battles or ridiculous things that the government is doing, very quickly upon its heels, there are truths about that. And those narratives are being shredded apart very quickly. So we are seeing progress. And again, this is what is helping to break our individual belief systems or veils, because it's just being shredded apart. The narrative that they're trying to spin is just being shredded apart very quickly, right? The day that the overturning happened was a very powerful divine feminine day. We had 6 planets completely lined up. It was a divine feminine activation. So there's no coincidence, right? There's no such thing as a coincidence. It was very synchronistic that they chose that day to overturn Roe v. Wade, because it was a day for the divine feminine. So everything has an agenda. And when we fight with each other over belief systems, instead of listening to what another person is feeling and allowing them to be seen and heard, the agenda wins. So this is very important for people to hear. Very important for people to hear. So how do we heal? How do we help the world? How do we help the collective? We learn to listen, to see and hear and feel another for where they are, what they going through, their perspective. And we honor and stand in our divine truth, in our sovereignty. And we allow them to stand in theirs. It doesn't mean we can't have healthy debate. It doesn't mean we can't share our perspective as well. But it's important to recognize that if you're with somebody who is unwilling to hear you or see you, or needs to fight with you, maybe that's somebody you don't have those types of conversations with anymore. So there's going to be a lot of tests through the month of July that is going to catapult a lot of people into a whole new space and time, a whole new frequency. We will start to see the fall of a lot of false idols, right? I've been talking about this for a while. People that we have put on pedestals that are sharing information that may be more agenda, ego. Everything has an agenda. Let me just state that right now. Everything has an agenda. I have an agenda. My agenda is to share this information, to share my perspective, to try to prepare you so that you have your tools ready, not to put you into a state of fear. Someone else's agenda may be to fear you into doing something. Right? Everything and everyone has an agenda, no matter what. But the agenda that I'm speaking about collectively, we all know what that is. And that is not a good agenda. It is an agenda for control and manipulation. And our agenda should be uniting, coming together, standing together against the divide. And saying whether we agree or not with our belief systems, we're not going to allow people to control and manipulate us anymore. So this is very important. Whew, so let's just take a breath because that's a lot of information. Stand together, absolutely. So if anybody has any questions, I think this is the fastest I've ever been able to get this information out. If anybody has any questions, now would be the time. Salvation is starting at such a perfect time. It really is. It really is. It's all BS. BS belief system. I love that, Sonia. That's a great, that's great. I love that. It's awesome. I also want to mention for those of you who are in my YouTube membership, or who are not in my YouTube membership, it's only $9.99 a month, by the way. I have added something that I'm going to try for the month of July as a way of providing support. So in the membership, I offer channelings, and I do cosmic conversations like morning chats, and sometimes healings. It just every month it can be a little different. It's what I feel called. But I have started putting up a support post every month. So we're going to try this for July. So for those who need that extra support, it's not for readings, but it is for what you're experiencing, what questions you may have about what we're going through, or getting help navigating what you're going through. There is a new support post that's going to be added just to bring a little bit of support and community to help you guys. So if that is something that you're needing, and you don't have a community, you don't have somebody that you can ask questions to or lean on, that might be a really good option for you. I have noticed a lot surface and how present I am with my thoughts and emotions. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. July is going to be a very, very powerful month. And that's the very best thing you can do is to be the observer of it. And I just did a video on TikTok and Instagram Reels about processing our emotions, right? So instead of labeling them anger, resentment, grief, depression, whatever it is, if you're new to reading your body and you don't know how to communicate with your body, go back to what we did as children. act like you're 5 years old and you're having to explain to your mom what the sensations are in your body. And when you release the labels, which is just us judging it, and there's nothing wrong with the labels, right? But if we're needing to feel in totality, we have to release the judgment of it entirely. So we release the label and instead we focus on the sensations that we are experiencing as the emotions rise up. And we recognize that the mind, especially when there is an emotional charge to it, the mind is going to be showing us what's repressed inside of us. And so that can be an alarm system that says, oh my gosh, I keep having this reoccurring thought or obsession around this energy. I wonder if that's something I'm repressing. And so you can ask yourself, like, what's the fear I'm not wanting to feel? What is the energy I'm not wanting to recognize right now? And start to have that dialogue with yourself and be open like it's another human being, because it is an aspect of you. And when you repress a part of you or an experience, your emotional development stops at that age where you repressed. And it takes on its own life and energy, which sometimes people will call entities. So these are just things to help you understand why integration right now of aspects of self is so important, because this is the path forward. Nicole says, my perspective on certain things has been changing so rapidly. Yes. The moment I started to figure it out, I just allowed it to be observing. Perfect. That's great. I don't even have to ask a question because you have answered so many with just this live. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Perfect. All right, my loves. This is going to be a powerful month. Like I said, if you need just a little bit of support, you can consider joining my membership. If you're looking to step into integration, you can check out Solvation. It isn't on my website, but I will drop a link. In fact, let me just do that right now because I'll forget. I will forget. And so I need to do things while I'm present with it. So let me just drop a link to that in the comments, and that's there for anybody who feels called to it. And I want to tell you guys that this could be a very beautiful, powerful, transformational month for you. It could change your entire trajectory of your life and your experience, or it could be a very rough, challenging month. It's literally up to you. Okay? It's up to you. And we have to remember that we can't control anything outside of our own selves and our own way of processing, reacting, responding, choosing how we deal with things that are coming up within ourselves and our personal lives, and just playing out on the world stage. So take care of yourselves, okay? Love yourselves through it. It's going to be amazing. There will be moments in July where we have amazing, light, beautiful energy, but overall it's going to be quite a challenging month leading into August. So be present. Love yourself. It's going to be all right. All right. So thanks for joining me. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you next time.